and welcome to my chemical-free product workshop. Today's topic is how to mix your own deodorant. I appreciate your attending. My name is Andrea and I'll be guiding you through today's class. So I'm always curious, which area are you calling in from? Please let me know in the comments below. It just lets me know how our community is growing throughout the world. And I very much appreciate your sharing. So a little bit about me. I'm from Maryland on the East Coast of the US. Each day, my family and I will live with 12 healthy habits to enjoy a better quality of life and also to support the success of all that God calls us to do. So because these habits have been so transformative to our lives, I do my best to share guidance on how to both implement and stick with each of these healthy habits so that we can all live truly thriving lives together. So I'll share more about the other videos, classes, workshops, and support groups that I offer throughout the week. But for now, I do want to go ahead and jump right into today's class. Our goal today is to make our own non-toxic deodorant. While we're together today, we'll learn about the toxins that are in average deodorant brands. We'll discover the health and the beauty benefits of natural ingredients for our hygiene. We'll mix our own deodorants using the suggested portions to suit your own needs. And of course, we'll grow in empowerment from having greater control of our deodorant options. So the ingredients, you're gonna need arrowroot powder. I took it out of the bag. I like to put it in the jars, which is pretty, but arrowroot powder. You can kind of see it. It's a little dusty. Makes a little big puff when it drops. And then you also want to have some baking soda. You want to have coconut oil. And these are the three main ingredients: the arrowroot powder, the baking soda, and the coconut oil. If that's all you have, then you're good to go. But it's also really helpful to use tea tree essential oil. So the tea tree essential oil is a very good antibacterial, and it really helps with deodorizing. So the baking soda is great at deodorizing, but I find that the tea tree oil is also really good as well. You'll want to also make sure that you have some type of dish, some type of shallow dish or something that you can use it with for some hot water. Make sure you, maybe if you want, turn on the hot water early so that you can have the water nice and hot and ready, because you'll need to pour hot water in here. Just from the sink is fine later on. And then here you'll want to have some type of a dish to mix your deodorant in. Make sure that it's something that's larger than your deodorant container to make sure that it'll all fit in there. And then you want to have some measuring tools, large or small, probably small for this batch, just so we don't have too much deodorant unless you're gonna have a deodorant party. And a spoon to mix with, obviously. It's been in my hand the whole time. All right, so we'll start by going over some of the functionalities of the natural deodorant ingredients, as well as sharing some of the dangers of the store-bought deodorant. Then I'll talk about some of the proportions that you'll want to use to mix your own deodorant, and we'll finish up by giving the recipe a try. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Just eyeballing it when you're mixing natural ingredients is just fine. And the funnest way, of course, to do all this is to just experiment. So just have fun with it. So of course, please be mindful of any potential allergies. Obviously, coconut oil is a tree nut. So if you have any tree nut or nut allergies, or if you're just prone to allergies, just be mindful of how that might affect you. It would be a good idea to do spot testing of this recipe before you apply it to a larger area of skin. All these ingredients are edible. And since our skin is porous like a sponge, it only takes about 26 seconds for it to start absorbing things. So we want to make sure we're using, obviously, the good ingredients where it's going to be helpful. So I'm going to take a second and show you more about what each of these ingredients can do for you so you know how you want to mix your product. So the baking soda. The baking soda is the deodorizing aspect, as well as the tea tree essential oil. The tea tree's deodorizing just because it's an antibacterial, but also the baking soda is deodorizing because it helps to absorb some of the moisture and some of the bacteria that might form. The coconut oil is also an antibacterial, and it also helps to hold the whole mixture together. It's important to use coconut oil because this is going to get hard at room temperature to make sure that it actually stays hard and firm in your container. Then there's the arrowroot powder. The arrowroot powder is going to be really good at absorbing moisture. So it helps to absorb the moisture. If you were sweating throughout the day, that'll help to absorb that. And then as far as the deodorant container, you can just use a bowl if you'd like, and just use your fingers and just rub them with your hand. That's pretty much how we started. It doesn't have to be fancy container. But if you do decide you want to use one, just make sure that it's twist it all the way down at the bottom before you start, just in case somebody got to it and wanted to have fun with it and it's up high. Just make sure it's all the way low. You'll know because it'll stop turning, and then you know that it's good to pour into. It's also a good idea to know how much they can hold so you can get an idea of how much to pour so that you don't have excess product, overflow it, or just not enough. So when you purchase something like this, and you can get this like on Amazon, this is where I got these, and you can just make sure that you know how many ounces fit in here so you know how much you should mix with your cup measurers. Okay, so as far as the proportions and how you want to mix this together, we do want to make sure that we're a little bit more exact with this, but again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's forgiving. So you want to do 1 scoop of the arrowroot powder and 1 scoop of the coconut oil. So it's basically a half and half ratio. Then when it comes to the baking soda, this is important. You want to do a really, really small amount of this. I would say like a pinch almost. So what I can tell you is if you do the same proportions that I use, which is usually going to fit about 1 or 2 of these. So you want to use about, I use 1/4 cup measure, and I use that to scoop the arrowroot powder. So I do 1/4 cup of the arrowroot powder, and then 1/4 cup of the coconut oil, and then I mix that together. And I use at most 1/4 teaspoon of the what is this? 1/4 teaspoon of the baking powder. So you can see the difference. It's going to be a very small, minuscule amount in comparison between the two. So a lot less. So you'll be using 2 scoops of this, 1 of the arrowroot powder, 1 of the baking, 1 of the arrowroot powder, 1 of the, what can I think? 1 of the arrowroot powder, 1 of the coconut oil, and then 1 really, really small scoop of the baking soda. Honestly, sometimes, like if it's winter, I'll use half of this. It's really just like an 1/8 scoop, because in winter, I don't know, we don't really sweat in winter. It's so cold. But in summertime, you might want to go for a whole scoop. It's totally up to you. If you have sensitive skin, I would definitely do an eighth, or even a 1/16. You really want to. This can be very powerful. The tea tree oil pretty much makes up for it. If you don't want to use much of this, the tea tree oil pretty much does some of the job of it as well. So, I think it's time to mix. So, I'm going to do a regular full amount today. So I always like to put my dry ingredients into the cup measurer first so I don't have to clean it out. So you want to do 1/4 cup of this arrowroot powder. That's about right. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be good enough. This is very dusty, so be really careful. You see all the dust coming out of there? Be careful. Don't let anybody inhale that, because nothing inhaled is ever helpful for our bodies. All right, so there's the 4th cup. And then now I'm just going to use the spoon in order to grab some of this coconut oil and try to fill that into the cup. And again, eyeballing it. You don't even really have to put it in there. You can just put it next to it and think, hey, that's close enough. Hey, that's close enough. That's just how I mix things. So then you can mix this. Again, keep it away from your face. It's going to be very, very dusty. So I'm just mixing it a little bit. While you still have some of the dusty arrowroot powder available, it may be a good idea to put your baking soda in there. So I'm just going to get a teeny, teeny, tiny amount, because I don't think we need too much of it. So I'm doing that little lazy scoop of this. So this is probably about an 1/8 of a teaspoon. So we're going to do an 1/8 teaspoon. That's TSP. TSP, that's important. Not the big one, the little one. An 1/8 of a teaspoon of the baking powder in there. Baking powder? I meant to say baking soda. Have I been saying baking? I'm sorry. Baking soda. Y'all know this is baking soda. Everybody knows baking soda. I apologize. All right, so then mix that all together. It's going to take a little bit of time to incorporate it all together. All right, so once you have it in there and it's looking pretty good, this is where we want to have you This is where we want to use that hot water in a dish to try to help. You see how it gets clumpy? You got big clumps, big clumps. So this is where we want to use that hot water in a dish to warm up our mixture. Pro tip, you can just take this whole, let me wait for this. All right, so a pro tip, if you have a very dedicated container of coconut oil that you don't mind getting watery and drippy, then you can just stick the whole container in some hot water. And once that's nice and warmed up, then you can use that to mix everything, and it's still, you know, the same proportions when it's watery. But if you don't want to do that, so you have a really huge container of it, just mix it after the fact. It's fine, or melt it after the fact. I think I need some more. I'll use my cup measure now that I'm using it. Woo! Make sure that it's high enough. It's kind of like a double broiler. You guys can't hear me, can you? You do want to make sure that it's high enough such that it's going to get watery. Mine's already starting to work a little. As you can tell, it's already softening up. It doesn't take much to soften coconut oil. And if you'd like, you can do this process first, but it's really not necessary to melt it first. It melts just fine. You can already see it starting to get a little gooey. I can see. You'll see more in a second. So you can already see it starting to get a little bit looser, a little bit more soft. It doesn't take much, and it doesn't take a lot of heat. You don't have to go to the oven or the stove or whatnot with this. Just hot water straight out of the faucet is good. Ooh, it's getting good. It's getting nice and gooey now. So you want to make sure you keep the water out of this. Don't want to get water in here. I can't tell you whether or not that's going to work well, but I'm pretty sure it would probably cause it to go rancid, because anything with water in it just attracts bacteria. So I would try to keep water out of this as much as is possible. Yay! So what you want this to do is to get soft enough that you can pour it into your container. Just make sure that you don't forget to add any essential oils first, or you're gonna kind of be stuck. So let's now, before we forget, add those essential oils in. And again, I'm adding tea tree. I usually do about 5 drops for the amounts that I just used. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I wouldn't do more than that, because tea tree, well, all essential oils are very strong. And now we'll have an extra deodorant. I might make this the car deodorant. Works well in winter. Although it's not winter right now. Why is it? Okay. Woo. It's very strong. Okay. So now you can see what we've got. A much drippier texture. This is what you want to get. This is what you want to go for. No lumps. This is what you want to use to make that deodorant. Woo, it's just fun to watch. All right, so now, this is where it would be a good idea. I'm sorry I didn't mention the funnel. I have it over here, but I just didn't bring it over. Sorry, funnel, didn't mean to forget you. So, it's a great idea to use a funnel to make sure that you don't have any trouble, and you're gonna wanna make sure that you dry off the bottom of this. We don't want any water to drip in there. You see those little drips? We don't want that. So get yourself a towel or something to dry off the bottom of your container before you attempt to pour it in. And I'm gonna go ahead and move the water since I don't need this anymore. All done. I'll move that over a little, and just be sure to dry off the bottom of this. Ooh, okay. And just because I'm being neat, might as well clean there a little bit. Okay. Switching because I'm a righty. All right, so now just want to go ahead and add that funnel in there. I wouldn't put it in the middle. It might seem like a nice idea, but don't put it on that little piece. Just put it on the edge so it can really get in there really well. So get your funnel in there, and then I suggest holding it up some, just so it's not just leaning in it, especially if you have a small one of these. I would hold it up so that you can see what you're doing, because you don't want to overflow it. You want to be able to peek in there and see how it's going. Because we have overflowed some before, you can tell, right? I'm really nervous about it. So, I'm trying to hold it so you guys can see. I don't know how to do that. All right, so just pour it in there. Woo! And then take a peek and see how it's going. You guys can, it's almost there. So you see, when the funnel's in there, it's going to be making a mess. So you can see when the funnel's in there, it's a little bit higher. So I'm gonna hold the funnel up and try to do the rest from above so I could really see how it's going. And you really could just start this way if you want. Just add a little bit more. We want it to be really close to the top, not overflowing, but pretty close. Don't overflow it. It's better for it to be less than to be more. We don't want a meniscus on the top kind of coming over the top. I really like science class, can you tell? So, before you close it, make sure that there's no drips. That's important, because otherwise it's going to stick closed and it's going to be really hard to open. It'll open eventually. You have to warm it up a little bit around the outside if it sticks, but we want to avoid that if we can. So very carefully place it on there. And if you, let me do something so I can show you something, because I just messied it a little bit. If you have too much, you can just use your your measure and just pull out some, because you don't want it to be a mess later on. It's just not worth it. And again, just clean around the outside, make it nice and neat, because we don't want it sticking now or the next time you use it. And then you end up with flakes and stuff all over the place when you go to use it. And if you wanted it to be neat and tidy, well, let's keep it neat and tidy. So you see where I've got about, I'd say, a 1/16 of an inch at the top of this. That's what you want. 1/16 of an inch of space at the top. And then close it up. Ta-da! Now, I don't have a pre-done one of these, but you want to carry it really closely. You can watch me carry it to the fridge. You want to carry it very carefully to the fridge so it doesn't go over and make a mess. This is an opportunity to shake it. And you can put it in the fridge. I wouldn't suggest the freezer, because that makes it too hard and you'll be waiting a long time. So you just set that in the fridge, and then use the bottom of it to push it up once it's completely hardened. I would give it about an hour to harden. You can really give it 2 hours just to be sure, but really should be totally fine after an hour. So you may have noticed that at the beginning of class I said that my family and I would live with 12 healthy habits in order to enjoy a better quality of life. So then, chemical-free living is just one of the 12. We embrace all these healthy habits so that we can have less unhelpful habits that would sabotage our efforts to obey God, and more helpful habits that can basically support, that's the wrong one, more helpful habits that would support our efforts as we attempt to do our best to do all that Yahweh called us to do. So for this habit, as well as all the other healthy habits, I offer guidance via videos, workbooks, classes, and support groups to help you both implement and stick with each of the healthy habits. So if you could use more guidance with this or with any of the other healthy habits, just know that I'm here to guide you, and you can find more about all these healthy habits and all the resources on my website, which is trulythrivinglives.org. All right, so this is the example that I have for you that I made before. It basically just goes up and down like a regular deodorant. You can see it goes up and down like a regular deodorant. And before you can use it the very first time, you want to make sure that you warm it up a little bit with your hands on the outside, and that helps it to be able to come smooth enough for the spinner to turn so you can get to use it the first go round. When using it, it's going to melt on your skin, so just do like 1, 2, 3 swipes, and that should be sufficient. You don't want to use too much because obviously it's got the oil in there and we don't want it to drip. And the powders, they're not see-through, they're pretty translucent, but if you use a whole bunch, then it can be visible. So just use a little bit, less is more with these, and they're very effective, they work well, so you don't need a whole lot of it. All right, so I guess that's it. I'd love to know how you enjoyed today's class and what questions you have for me. You can always let me know your questions in the comments below, or if you'd like, you can save your questions for a support group or for coaching. Either way, I look forward to supporting you along your journey. All right, thank you again for attending, and I hope that you have a blessed day.